I'm Adam Todd, and welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I've always believed that the best way to engage students in a 21st century classroom is to immerse them with the transformative tools that will empower each and every one of them to excel in the world that awaits. My goal is to ignite the spark that propels you and your students in an advanced tomorrow, and your journey into that future starts right now. Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Every classroom has the potential to be extraordinary, and the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera is your partner in making that happen. With its flexible arm and clear video, you can showcase everything from detailed drawings to live experiments, ensuring every student is engaged and involved. Whether you're teaching in person or online, Logitech Reach helps you connect with your students in a whole new way. Ready to take your lessons further? Visit logitech.com/reach and elevate your classroom to a whole new level. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we get into the exciting world of technology and education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and today we're exploring a tool that's redefining what's possible in the classroom. We're talking about UniqLearn. Now, UniqLearn isn't just another edtech platform. It's a revolutionary science-based approach to teaching that's all about boosting student engagement and performance, all the while sparking joy in learning. So just imagine a classroom where automated assignment creation, instant grading, and deep insights into student progress aren't just nice to haves, they're actually standard. Additionally, UniqLearn helps teachers see their students more clearly, cutting through the noise with detailed analytics that highlight strengths, pinpoint areas for improvement, and reveal each student's unique learning journey. And the best part? It's saving educators hours every week, freeing them up to focus on what really matters, which is teaching and connecting with their students in the classroom. Now, when we come back, we have Aidan McDowell here, the founder and CEO of UniqLearn. He's here to explain how UniqLearn can lift the level of engagement on multiple levels for you and your students. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Teachers, are you looking for resources that spark creativity and inspire learning? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From comprehensive lesson plans and interactive lab books to engaging informational test prep passages, Highly Motivated has everything you need to keep your students motivated and excited to learn. Whether it's a quick activity or a full unit, these resources are designed to save you time and help students succeed. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. Search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today. Joining us today is the founder and CEO of UniqLearn, who's here to share how the platform can elevate your teaching and enhance student learning in ways that you never thought possible. It's my pleasure to welcome Aidan McDowell to Classroom Dynamics. Welcome to the show. The last time I saw you was at ISTE in Colorado last June, so hope everything is well. Before we begin, just tell everyone a little bit about UniqLearn and how it all got started.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Adam. Super stoked to be here. Our mission at UniqLearn is to ignite student engagement and to do that through personalized learning. And we really got here through this distaste I had with the structure of education. When I was 15 years old, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, and I was always super passionate about helping people and talking to people. But for whatever reason, my 15-year-old brain told me that I'd get bored with that, as was a theme at that time. And I started asking myself what I hated, because whatever I hated must need some sort of fixing. And unfortunately, the answer was school. Which was really frustrating for two reasons. One, because I spent a lot of time in school, and two, because I loved learning and I always loved my teachers. I have always had and continue to have great relationships with them. It was really the notion that we're all so different, yet forced to learn the same thing at the same time in the same way. And so that thought, that question really carried over for 3, 4, 5 years into studies at NYU, started working in a PhD research lab under some PhD students, super grateful for their mentorship. And then the boom of generative AI just kind of hit me and was like, whoa, we can really do this at scale. And UniqLearn was born.
It's amazing how just the notion of differentiation can mean so much to so many people, but it's true when you look back at, especially when I was a kid, that's how learning was done. You had one teacher doing one lesson, everyone learned the same way. And I think, yes, it does lead to student boredom, and it leads to the breaking of the engagement piece, which is probably the most important piece to start with in any lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just having this conversation with someone. I don't think anyone is at fault necessarily for the structure that we live in today. I think it was built for what was wanted at the time, which was a way to get everyone in a community to be able to read and write about religion and have a context to share beliefs and communicate and stuff like that. And then it became something that was really more for parents, right? I mean, parents needed a place for their kids to go during the day while they were at work. And then you also look at how kind of industry evolved into the Industrial Revolution, right? It was very assembly line oriented and everyone had very specific roles and it was kind of just assumed what you would do. And you kind of contrast that to today where there's such a wealth of knowledge and opportunity, and pretty much everyone has everything at their fingertips in terms of a Google search or go to the library and search something on the computer, right? Like you can learn anything, you can aspire to be anything. And so I think the structure just has really, really lagged behind that growth.
That is a fascinating way to look at it because I think it really does make a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. It does make a lot of sense. Let's get into the heart of the matter with UniqLearn. UniqLearn is all about student engagement, which is in turn ultimately a teacher's best friend. It's the advantage that they look for. It's how they like to elevate instruction and really grasp that kid. You want them there for that lesson. And research does show that attention starts to fade at around the 20-minute mark or so of instruction. So what are some ways that UniqLearn helps to engage students and then actually hold their focus, keep their focus so that they're not only learning, but they're really elevating in what they're learning for?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. And certainly student engagement is a teacher's best friend, right? I mean, I've never been a teacher. I've worked in classrooms, but the second you have students start disengaging, it becomes pretty chaotic pretty quickly. So as far as what we do to really help with that, we cater to who students are as learners and people. And there's a huge emphasis on the and people part of that. Right. Historically, learning solutions really take into account, a student's competency against a standard. They take into account their reading level, now shifting gears towards science of reading, right? And really taking these learning centered and quantitative metrics to determine what a student needs, right? Where we come in is we are trying to quantify inherently qualitative things, such as an interest, such as a character strength, such as a working style, things like that, while also taking into account the more standard quantitative metrics. And through that analysis, which we do through our machine learning infrastructure, we never administer a diagnostic. It's a huge pain point for teachers and students and everyone involved. So through that analysis and through what we call our learning profiles, we use them to create personalized homework based on how a student learns and what they're interested in. So we really care about making sure that what the student is interacting with is resonating with every part of who they are.
So then how does it work with the home piece? In school is one thing, but with homework, with that home connection with parents there, how does that help and kind of come all together?
One of the best examples I always like to give is with the interest alignment that we do. Let's say a student is a New York Yankees fan, right? And they're learning about ratios in class one day. They're sitting at home on a Wednesday night watching the Yankee game with their family, and Aaron Judge hits a walk-off home run, his second home run of the game. He's 2 for 4 with 2 home runs, right? They go to class the next day. They learn about ratios. They get sent home with homework. And all of a sudden, their homework is about the ratio of home runs to at-bats for Aaron Judge. And the question is, if Aaron Judge has 300, 400 at-bats in a season, how many home runs will he have if he keeps up the same ratio as last night, right? And all of a sudden, not only is this learning that was maybe or maybe not boring at first, right? Not only is it placed in the context of your interests, it's placed in a memory that you created with your family, with your loved ones the night before. All of a sudden, you have the kid running around the house. Mom, Dad, guess what my homework's about? right? We remembered Aaron Judge last night, right? That was crazy. Like it starts to really create this intrinsic motivation to learn. It helps students place value on what they're learning, right? I was always the kid in class that was like, why are we learning this? Why do I have to do this? What is the point? And I never got a straight answer, and most people don't, right? So if we can help kids both directly and indirectly understand the value of learning something and how it can hold value in their actual lives, I think that takes engagement to a whole nother level as well.
Right, because not only are you connecting to them, it's something they like.
Right.
We were always taught, here, you're going to read this book, and the whole class is reading the same book. But the kid, so let's say it's a book about dinosaurs, and there's that one kid who doesn't like dinosaurs. He'd rather read everything about trucks. Well, I don't have a truck book for you, so you're going to have to read the dinosaur. So sad, too bad for you. But now that kind of does bring that and opens that up to a whole new world of possibilities, especially with the technology connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said before, the notion that we all have to learn the same thing at the same time in the same way, I challenge people who are kind of okay with that structure by saying, what is the point of learning math? What is the point of learning history, right? And to a certain extent, the point is because you need to know basic arithmetic to get through your daily life, right? You need to understand a general overview of the past, right? What events have happened, what wars have been fought, where are countries, right? Like those things are important. But when you really boil it down and you start getting into details, a lot of answers that I've gotten and the answer that I've come up with is, well, these things help you craft certain skills, right? At a certain point, it's about problem solving. At a certain point, it's about critical thinking. It's about using evidence. It's about crafting an argument. And so the question I pose then is, are you telling me that the only way to enhance my critical thinking is to read a book about dinosaurs? Or can I enhance my critical thinking by reading a book about trucks? And so if it really becomes about the skills, which is my personal belief, my personal pedagogy, then I think it just drives our point at UniqLearn of personalization even further to say that, listen, you can all still achieve what the end goal is, right? That doesn't mean you have to do it the same way.
Right. So now let's get into UniqLearn a little deeper. So in your opinion, what specific UniqLearn features may have the most impact on student engagement and performance in that regard?
So, I mean, one of the big things for us is, like I said, being able to place that value, helping students understand kind of the real world and their life application of what they're learning. We emphasize metacognition and meta learning. So always ending assignments with reflective questions, right? Always asking students to share their opinion on an assignment, on a question, on an answer, to really force them to think about why they're doing what they're doing. Why is what they're doing valuable? Another thing that we really focus on is strengthening a feedback loop, right? So historically, there's been a pedagogical issue in grading, which is that teachers, by no fault of their own, they just simply don't have the bandwidth, aren't able to get feedback returned to students for days, if not weeks. And by the time that happens, it's kind of old news, right? A student is not going to go back to an assignment from a week ago and make some edits based on a teacher's feedback, right? So what we do, our platform grades everything that a student submits, and we give them super qualitative feedback. So in the context of math, we're actually able to identify where they went wrong in their calculation, in their steps, not just marking it right or wrong. We then have a resubmit feature where we prompt students to use that feedback and apply it right away. We literally want you to do the question again using that feedback until you master the concept. So in that way, we're really strengthening the feedback loop as well.
And you're pinpointing that exact skill that really needs attention.
Exactly.
So how does UniqLearn's approach then differ from other edtech platforms in terms of improving classroom dynamics and then just the student outcome in the end? How does that all come together then?
Absolutely. There's a lot of AI tools right now. There's a lot of companies who claim personalization, and I'll come straight out and say it. I think a lot of them are dragging the word personalization through the mud, and I think they're doing the rest of us a disservice. I don't think you can call something personalized if you didn't know a student when you created it, right? And that's what we're seeing with a lot of more outdated products, to be honest, which is they have this library of content, they perform a diagnostic, and then they match students with that content based on certain parameters. That's not personalized. Another aspect where I think people are lacking and where we really differentiate ourselves is in caring about who the student is as a person, right? As I mentioned before, everything is about the standards, everything is about the reading level, the proficiency, and we take all of that stuff into account. Everything we do is aligned with that. But we add on the important layer of who are you, right? What do you care about? What's your background? What's your home life? What are your goals? What are your dreams? Right. And so really resonating with who the student is in that way as well is where we really differentiate ourselves in the market so far.
That's awesome. Let's give everyone an example or two of how UniqLearn has then transformed the learning experience just for a classroom or even a school if we can go that far. What kind of aha moments do teachers see from students when they're using the platform? Do they see that moment and say, okay, that's it, I got it now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one really, really good example that I can give, which is this was in the early days when I was hand delivering assignments to classrooms, like literally printing them out in my apartment and bringing them to classrooms before we built the platform. And it was tailored to student interest. It was tailored to their standard and their topic and everything. Every student has a different assignment, right? Every student has different questions on the assignment. So it's not even the same numbers either. You would think that the nature of very individualized work would create kind of an individualized working environment. Kind of the aha moment for me and the teacher, we were sitting in the back of the classroom, the students started forming circles. They started working together. And I was kind of like, what's going on right now? Like, you all have different assignments. How can you be working together? They were so curious about what their friend's assignment was about that they had to ask each other, like, what does yours say? What is yours about? Right. And so the nature of individualized work created what I felt was a really ironic collaborative environment. So that was one of the big aha moments in the early days of, wow, this not only is this boosting individual student engagement, this whole class is engaged. Like, this whole class is alive right now. They're excited for me to come back and print out. I gotta go buy more paper at Staples, right? Like, they're excited for these assignments. So that was a really cool moment.
I think when you take a look at, like you were saying, personalized learning versus quote unquote personalized learning, if you want to go that route,
Yep.
it does make a big difference, especially when you have that kid really getting sucked into that world and they almost don't see what's happening around them. Yes, they're going to notice and they're going to be curious about their friends and see what they have. But at the same token, I think eventually that funnels into what they're supposed to be doing. And then even you could even take it a step further where kids then could help each other.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a really, really cool environment to be a part of and something that I'll cherish forever for sure.
So when that happened, did it take long for the kids to then get back into what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool because it wasn't something that got out of control. Like, they were excited enough about their own assignment to the point where they were still locked in, but again, still curious enough about their friend's assignment to where they're kind of like sitting on the ground in a circle, or they all went to one table, and that's the sort of thing. So definitely didn't take long for them to do what they needed to do, but they were able to have some fun and collaborate while doing it.
I love when that happens organically. Isn't that the
Yep.
coolest thing when you see it happen
It's so
organically,
cool.
all by itself, and it just like
I didn't even have to do anything.
the beauty of technology.
Yep,
See,
exactly.
but there goes another thing about technology. When you're using it appropriately in the way that you really can see an outcome, forget about the student for a second, assisting the teacher to see really, to get that feedback, to see how they're doing, to see how much further they have to go with it, or if they have to revisit something. That's invaluable. I mean, for a
Right.
teacher to do that sometimes can take quite a long time, but if you're getting that instant feedback right then and there, you're way ahead of the game.
Right. And so one of the things too, in the early days when I was hand delivering assignments, again, we didn't have the platform to grade everything. So I had answer keys for each student's assignment, and I would sit there at the front of the class and kids would line up to check their answers with me. And that was kind of the first form of like instant feedback. And it was funny because I was live still able to create this strong feedback loop because, I mean, if there was a line of 5 students within a minute, I was able to get to all of them. And then I would send them back to their desk if they got some wrong, and then they'd come back and the bell would ring and they wouldn't be able to check it, and they get really upset. Like, they really cared about making sure that they got the story straight. They really cared about making sure that they mastered the concept. And I think when you give kids and students the ability to access that, they care about it. Right. And I think that's something that is a little underscored in the sense of like, people think this is more of a teacher thing. Like, oh, like give them feed. No, like students want that, right? Like students want to know if what they did is right or wrong. You just see them start to disengage. Like you mentioned, the 20-minute mark really quickly when they do something and they know they're not going to get feedback or a grade back for a few days or a week, right? It's a lot easier to care when you know you're going to have that interaction, that back and forth.
And like you said, what's the point in finding out an answer a week later, especially if you see a class once a week? You know, that might be different where you're going to see them every day, but in elementary school, you might see, you know, the social studies teacher just once a week or the science teacher just once a week. So now you're waiting a whole calendar week, and forget about if you have a vacation. Now it's 2 weeks. weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So our day off, it's 2 weeks. And so that does play a role in trying to keep up with everything.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give to teachers looking to maximize the benefits of UniqLearn in their teaching practice? But before you answer that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Aidan McDowell of UniqLearn and how you can maximize all the benefits of using the program. We will be right back in just 30 seconds. Hey everyone, Adam Todd here, and I have to tell you about my absolute favorite must-have accessory, the Data Keeper Plus from Higher Ground Gear. Whether you're a busy teacher, a tech enthusiast, or just someone who wants to keep their devices safe and organized, this protective cover is a total game changer. With its sleek design, ultra-tough materials, and built-in storage for your essentials, it's the ultimate way to protect your tech. I take mine everywhere, and it always keeps my gear safe and looking brand new. Head over to hggear.com today and grab your Data Keeper Plus. You'll be glad you did. Data Keeper Plus, because your tech deserves higher ground. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics, where today we're talking with Aidan McDowell, the founder and CEO of UniqLearn. Before the break, I asked about, how teachers can maximize all the benefits of using UniqLearn. What are some tips and tricks that you can share or advice with best ways and how to use it in their classroom?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as far as accessing it as a teacher, you can unlock a 7-day free trial. You go to uniqlearn.co and select your plan there. If you want it implemented school-wide, have your school or district contact us, and we are super happy to speak with them and figure out what needs to be done to get it going. As far as how to use it once you have it and how to maximize it, we really target the practice aspect of what you're doing, right? So we're not touching your instruction. We're not touching your assessment. We're really focusing on the practice. And so to kind of draw a comparison here, imagine a professional sports athlete, a professional basketball player, let's say it's a point guard. They're going to go through their team practice. They're going to run through their team plays, and they're going to still play in the game together. Right. Practice being the equivalent of instruction, or their team practice being the equivalent of instruction, and their game being the equivalent of an assessment. They're still doing work on the side, right? They're still working on their handle. They're still working on their passing, their shooting. They're doing that individually. Maybe they bring in a teammate to come help them, right? But for the most part, there are specific aspects of their position, of their job, that they're crafting and fine-tuning on their own. Right. So for us, we look at that as the practice aspect in kind of a classroom loop. And so we really, really cater to, our students doing in-class work. Do you want to have them break out and do an activity? Or do you want to send them home with homework and have them do some extra practice there? Do you want to help them prepare for a test? So that's really the specialty for us at this point.
Well, listen, you definitely know what you're talking about, because as you're talking, and I'm sure people who are listening are putting themselves in their classroom and thinking, yes, that has happened to me, or yes, I think about that, or yes, I would love to have something like that on my side. So that's good, because I think teachers, they are very thirsty for tools that are going to benefit their kids, and not just because of bells and whistles sometimes. And when it's meaningful like this, I think it's important.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm really glad we had a chance to learn more about you and this amazing startup, UniqLearn. I loved it the second I heard about it at ISTE in Colorado last year. So before we go, once again, just tell everyone where they can go to find out more about you and, of course, UniqLearn.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, search my name, Aidan McDowell. Our website is uniqlearn.co. So you can learn more on there. You can join our newsletter, join our wait list, or go ahead and purchase a plan for yourself under the Our Plan section. And super happy to speak to all of you, give some live demos, and hopefully get UniqLearn going in your classrooms.
Go get your free 1-week trial to start it, and then you'll probably be hooked.
You know it, Adam.
Well, for those of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure that you share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had, and tag us on X at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned here on the podcast. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Aidan McDowell from UniqLearn for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. It's been a pleasure having you. Nice to see you again. And look, a cool product. And I'm really, I wish you guys the best of luck. It's an engaging program.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having us. It's been a pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both insightful and uplifting. As always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who think it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work. So why not make today that day to do so? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting that spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact that you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. Did you miss our episode with Elijah Richardson? Well, if so, we headed to Queensland, Australia to meet 11-year-old environmentalist Elijah Richardson, a champion for the Great Barrier Reef and third-place winner of the 2024 International Young Eco Hero Awards. As featured in Trust Your Wild Side, Elijah's passion for ocean conservation and youth activism is inspiring a global wave of change. Don't miss this must-listen episode for educators, parents, and anyone who believes in the power of young voices to protect our planet.
Well, I'm an ambassador for Coral Watch, which is an organisation that is helping reefs around the world by using their Coral Watch health charts to monitor the reef, and also by educating people about the importance and how to protect the reefs. And I'm also an ambassador for Tangaroa Blue, which is another amazing organisation that is helping the ocean environment by organising big beach cleans, and then they sort it all and they get tons of rubbish. And when I say tons, I mean tons. The amount is absolutely astounding.